It was gory. It is not for the squeamish. It is a horror trip through and through. It is gory. It is words are incapable of coming together right now. This movie was incredible. I enjoyed it. I had a great time with it. I loved it. I've become quite the fan of the Terrifier franchise over the last few years personally, but man, this one really knocked it out of the park. It's just as good as everyone is saying it is. It is shot really well. It had an increase in budget, and it's already like exceeded the budget that it has, the box office. So all in all, big win for Damien Leone. Like this movie was awesome. Like let me put it to you this way: of the three movies so far, I think I still like the first one maybe the most. The second one is inventive, but the third one is concrete, crystal clear, and very much it's a Christmas film to the backdrop of a horror film, and it is so well done. It is so good. Like no joke. I had the time of my life with this movie. As I mentioned, the kills are really inventive. If you've been following the Terrifier franchise, it literally picks up right where the second one leaves off. And they do some very inventive, unique things of carrying the story of Art the Clown forward. I'm not going to get too spoilerific in regards to it, but this one definitely left an impression. As I mentioned, a lot of the kills are superbly inventive. I mean, the movie opens up with Art killing a family at Christmas time. He's wearing a Santa outfit, and then you actually see how he gets the Santa outfit. Oh my god, I laughed so hard at that sequence when he gets his Santa outfit because it is hilarious. There are also some dark themes going on here in terms of, dealing with trauma and what's real, what's not, and that all kind of culminates at the end of it into this really big brawl between the main character, Sienna Shaw, played by Lauren Lavera, and man, this movie was just firing off on all cylinders. Now, it's the same group of people who've made the first two coming back for the third one. However, they did get kind of a sizable increase in terms of budget, and this series has become a pretty huge cult classic already, and it's pretty insane. Now, Art himself being a demonic entity and coming back to life and mutilating people for shits and giggles. I think that the thing I think is so appealing about Art the Clown is he's a clown, obviously, like he's in a black and white suit, he's got the grin, he's got the makeup, whatever, but he's quiet. He doesn't say or utter a word. You don't even hear him breathe. And I think that's just the novelty of the character, where he just does these like just these goofy fucking mannerisms when he's mutilating people or like about to mutilate someone, and the way he's just kind of being a bit of a mime, and the way he holds himself, the way that David Howard Thornton brings this character to life is just so incredibly unique. It is unlike any other character you've seen in a slasher film to date. I mean, sure, you can make the argument that he's, a couple characters rolled into one. I don't really see that at all. I think that's what makes Art the Clown such a unique character in his own right. He's just this, he offers some kind of warmth in a sick way when you see him, but then you see him pull out something from his bag of tricks, and it's just so immediate, and it's like a flick of a switch, turn of a hat. Like he's just so just malicious and evil and dastardly in the way he kills people. Like I mentioned, when he gets his Santa suit, the way he goes about killing a couple people in the bar, and especially one guy playing Santa, oh my god, the funniest shit I've seen in a horror movie in a long time. And I honestly think that's also the novelty of these films, is like, you don't know how people are gonna die, and you also don't know how Art is gonna react to when he kills them too. And I think that's a big draw for a lot of people, because I'm not gonna lie, like when Art was going on his killing spree in this movie, 9 times out of 10 I was probably laughing. Matter of fact, I was laughing. I was laughing with it, not at it, which I think very well could be the intent of Terrifier. As I mentioned, the kills are very inventive. There are quite a few certain sequences that one or two made my skin crawl. Like, not even gonna lie, like they were really well done. masterfully made. There's just so much creativity going into these kills that I was just really impressed by. One that really kind of sticks out to me is two young college students are kind of getting it on in a shower, and Art just takes it upon himself to like cut these kids up with a chainsaw. I will leave people's imaginations to that because and even thinking about it now, like there are funny homages like that to me makes me think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre to a certain extent. There's like shades of Halloween going on too. It's just really smart with the way that they showcase some of these kills and these characters. And that's another thing I think really ultimately does work with this film, maybe opposite the other two, but definitely with this one. It's probably got the strongest character work in it thus far between the sister and brother of Sienna and Jonathan Shaw, and then of course they introduced their aunt, the uncle, and the young cousin Gabby, who's also a main character in this movie. I mean, and of course Victoria, she reprises her role from the first two films, and there's actually kind of a interesting thing going on between her and Art in this movie that just kind of makes you tilt your head a little bit and go, oh, okay, that's what they're doing. Now, there was also a really fun cameo that I noticed immediately when he came on screen, and that's one Tom Savini, who is a makeup artist for a lot of very prominent horror films. He worked on Friday the 13th Part 1 and 4. He's worked with George Romero, and when I saw him, I was like, Tom Savini. So that was a cool cameo. That was a really nice, cool cameo to see that happen in this movie. And yeah, it was really cool to see just someone from the horror genre make an appearance here. Also, let me just also say this: I went into this movie straight up blind. I did not see any trailers. I saw nothing going into this movie. I only had the knowledge of the first two films going into it. I knew it was going to be a Christmas movie because I've heard people talk about it, but other than that, I went in completely blind. I did not see any footage from Terrifier 3 going into it. So, getting to the film itself and having, let's talk about Sienna Shaw, played by Lauren Rivera. Like, she was great in what she had to do, because there were moments where she had to play like this really nice, cool older cousin, and then there were moments where she plays, a really broken individual based on the past events from the second film, and she's having to struggle with some serious trauma issues, and it's just bad. Not a bad performance per se, but it's just like you can see yourself in her position to some extent and be like, yep, maybe I've been there once or twice. Maybe not to the extent of watching my family get mutilated, but definitely in the sense of like, oh, she's having a hard time, real hard time coping with this. This isn't like a Sidney Prescott situation where they kind of power on through and just deal with the next killer. No. Art left an impression on her, and literal scars are on her body. Like, this is something you don't exactly like get to walk away from and act like everything's hunky dory. Like, this is in a way maybe kind of like Scream, but not to the same extent that Neve Campbell's Sidney Prescott had. But oh my God, her character by the end of this movie was just so like she's literally shoved in a corner. And when all hell breaks loose, it's fight or flight, and it's awesome. Straight up awesome. Now, there was one thing that kind of bothered me, and I think it has to do with certain things not being explained or shown, but I also would probably guess that is probably from the cutting room floor, because Damien Leone did do an interview. He's been making the rounds for this movie, and he talked about leaving a couple scenes on the cutting room floor that he did like, and there were certain sequences that were, kind of character driven to a certain extent. And I'm paraphrasing here because I'm not sure exactly where this interview stemmed from. I saw it first on Hollywood Reporter, but I'm not sure if that's exactly who did the interview. But yeah, like if there was one thing I had an issue with, it was not seeing how certain characters met their end and how Art winds up in the house at the end of the movie. I would say like my biggest critique of it is I feel like the transition from Act 2 to Act 3 into the climax, it feels almost rushed, but otherwise the film is very well paced for what it sets out to do. And also, again, like, props to David Howard Thornton, who just absolutely knocked it out of the park with his portrayal of Art the Clown. Again, A lot of inventive kills, a lot of just great character work, and just, again, like, it's a bloody, disgusting fun time, and bloody disgusting is you will see that in front of the movie if you go watch it in the theater. Yeah, this movie is nothing short of a great time. If you are a fan of the Terrifier films, highly recommend go see this. The movie ends in a way where you're like, huh, okay. I guess that's maybe kind of another thing I don't necessarily have an issue with, but it's just something I kind of let, huh, interesting. It leaves on a very interesting note, but I'm not going to spoil too much of anything here. But I will just say that if you have any interest whatsoever in seeing the Terrifier films, go out and see it immediately. This film is worth it, and I'm not surprised to see this movie tracking better than Joker and Joker's second weekend. And it's even more ironic because this is the second film I've seen in 2 weeks with a clown in it. Honka honka. Anyway, feel free to like and subscribe if you like any of these movie reviews. I will be doing more of them as I get the chance to. If I walk out of a movie theater and feel compelled to talk about it, like with this one, for instance, I as much as I went into spoiler territory for Joker, this is one I'm not going to go into spoiler territory for because it's so fresh in the movies. Literally, it's this opening weekend, so I'm like, I can't really do that. But it was a fun time. It was a really fun time. I enjoyed myself. I was very entertained. And again, if you are a fan of the Terrifier franchise, by all means, go check this out. Again, hit that like and subscribe button. Keep that notification bell on. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.